Hi, my name is Nataliya Meyer, and today I was going to shorten this shirt, just a plain ladies shirt, about 2 inches. It's my friend's shirt and she wanted about 2 inches shorter, so here's what I would do. Actually it's about 3 inches. So I will mark my 3 inches shorter all the way around. I don't know if you can see the chalk mark, but I'll try to make sure it's visible for you. And go all the way around the hem and then connect the little marks. I'll pull out the pin that shows me. You see it's kind of curved, so I don't just draw the straight line, but I do connect the marks. And on an ironing table, you will see that we can sort of substitute the lines to make it curved. The same thing in the back, so it was 3 inches. All the way around. And mark it again. Connecting the marks. And now we're back to the ironing table. Next thing we do is we are going to press against our mark upwards, so inside, fold it inside. You have to make sure you follow your marks. This is where I drew the line. And create a nice line. Make sure there's no angles or anything sticking out, it just has to be flowing line. Fabric will guide you where to go. I always use steam, a lot of steam, because most of my work's not sewing, it's steaming. Not just pressing, steam is very important. Make sure they connect nicely. One side we already did it, and another side, just check yourself, make sure it's straight, somewhat curved. Follow along the line that we drew. Oh. There we go. And there's more. Next step, we're going to a sewing machine. So follow me?
Yep.
Next step is we'll stitch along this crease that we created. Try to make sure that it goes straight along the crease, doesn't come off or it comes in. The reason we created a crease, it makes it a little easier to have this stitch done right along the crease. Make sure you hold it. I know I'm stitching fairly fast, but if you take your time, you can actually do this fairly easy. Just make sure it goes straight along. Whatever machine you have, then most likely you'll have the inner straight line of your foot or some sort of a line on the plate. And you can sort of make sure it's parallel to that. Sorry, my dog is here. continue all the way around. Try to make sure it's straight. It's very important for it to be straight because it starts curving. You can move off the line. It's just not going to create a nice hem for your shirt. Lock it. The next step, just trim everything that we don't need, all the excess. Next step is we're going to cut off the excess fabric, the hem that we folded. Now make sure to not to cut the body of the shirt, just cut the outer side because it's really easy for it to get under on the side. So then we'll have to do it all over again. Will get people discouraged. I use tiny scissors for this. Make sure they're sharp because if they're not sharp, you're gonna be suffering. And with the little scissors, it's less likely for you to cut the body of the shirt. And just cut her off all the way around. Try to make sure that everywhere, whatever you cut off is the same length. Same little, maybe like 1/4 of an inch, maybe even less. However comfortable you are cutting it without drawing a line. Try not to cut the stitch that we had done. Okay, so now this ring comes off. Next step is when we stitch, we need to make sure that our seams, if they were pressed one way, make sure they go along the same way because we don't want them twisted. It's not going to be horrible, it just won't look perfect. And we try to aim it so it'd be nice. So the next step is we'll fold the original stitch that we had created and cut off. In your seam allowance, that little hem creates a nice little fold. And just hold it and stitch. No pressing, just stitch. Make sure to follow a line, this little stitch, because that way it will be more even and it will look nicer. Try to hold it a little tight. I'm pulling, both my hands pulling just a little bit so you won't create a gather because you won't be able to unpress it. And also thread has a tendency to shrink if you press whatever hems, whatever projects you're doing. So pre-stretching is good, just a little bit, and on not stretchy fabrics. Stretchy fabrics will be acting different. This is a non-stretchy fabric. And we're almost done. excess fabric. Now that we're done stitching, it is finished. All that I have to do is just finish pressing it, because you see it's a little bit stretched out as I was stretching. This seam will lay flat inwards and it'll be perfect. And so it is done. And it looks perfect. And now the skirt of the blouse is proportionately short to the body of the blouse. And it looks beautiful and clean. For people who have issues having a straight line, I would suggest the way I learned is we would take a striped or like plaid, any kind of square, anything that has a line fabric, and just stitch along the line. Stitch along the line as long as you can for it to be straight. And that's all. Thank you.